I don't know, Mom. The kids here are terrifying. There's a big fight that just broke out in the hallway, and... You know what? What was that other school I was looking at? I feel like I should go there instead. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. It brings me so much joy to talk about the brand new season of Cobra Kai, one of my favorite shows on Netflix. I was so excited to see where this was going to go, and I need you guys in the comments down below. What is your favorite season so far? Don't worry, not a spoiler in this review, other than the actual summary. And that summary is, Season 4 finds the Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang dojos joining forces to take down Cobra Kai at the All-Valley Under-18 Karate Tournament. And whoever loses may just be in jeopardy, as Samantha and Miguel try to maintain the dojo alliance and Robby goes all in at Cobra Kai. The fate of the Valley has never been more precarious. What tricks does Kreese have up his sleeves? Can Daniel and Johnny bury their decades-long hatchet and defeat him? Or will Cobra Kai become the face of karate in the Valley? All right, here's one thing we can talk about. He's on the posters, in the trailers. Terry Silver has returned. And not only is he changing the mentality of certain people, he's kind of changing the pulse and the dynamic of Cobra Kai. And the interesting thing about this season is seeing how Kreese responds to this and how they are, able to take Cobra Kai in a direction that they feel is necessary and lead them on a path to showdown with Daniel and Johnny. And Daniel and Johnny, their stories have always been going in this direction where we leave off at the end of Season 3, but now that they're finally working together, still having to put their differences aside, and that's something that, is going to be very tough for them to do. Obviously, there's a big history there, and everyone around them, they're always approaching these two like, okay, can you work together? And we've seen this classic story countless times, but the way that it plays out in this season is fascinating because it goes in directions that I both did not and did expect. Austin, what does that mean? Can't talk about it yet. May save that for a spoiler review. By the way, let me know if you'd like to see that. Drop your thumbs up if you're liking this spoiler-free review. But let's get back into kind of where each character is now and the path that they're starting off on in Season 4. One very important element is the story between Tory and Samantha. They've obviously always been in conflict, but this time someone else gets involved, and you start to see that aggression level in these characters kind of go in different directions. We've always known Tory to be, the kind of unhinged character that is very willing to do what it takes when no one else is. But this time around, there's something going on within her life that allows us to see her in kind of a new light and with a new perspective, and I truly appreciated that. But at the same time, what she's done to Samantha, not only Samantha, but her mom and dad, and I was so interested to see how that was going to play out within the final episode. So I thoroughly enjoyed their story. Obviously, a big reason why we're here. We've grown to love Miguel and Robby in different ways. Well, love them and hate them. We've hated Robby at points, but then at other points, you're just like, man, Tanner Buchanan is so good at what he's trying to convey. There's always that underlying conflict we can see very clearly, whether that be just what he's doing by himself or the relationship between he and his dad. And Johnny's story, man. Always oblivious to certain things. So many great comedic beats that come from his character, whether it be kids talking to him and he has no clue what they're saying. Even things that you feel like you should know and are very socially aware, at least everyone around him is, and he's just like, yeah, I have no clue what you're talking about. But that obliviousness is part of that charm, and that charm is so strong this time around, even though there is still that that aggression between he and Daniel that keeps us invested, that keeps us on our toes, because while we think we know where this season is going, really between all of the different dojos, there are some turns in here that are going to make people upset in a way that still keeps you invested in the show. But there are also turns that will have you smiling from ear to ear, and character revelations. Characters are growing in this season in a way that maybe I didn't even expect, right? Someone like Hawk gets so much to do this season. I was so happy for that. I was fascinated to see, obviously where he came from at the end of Season 3 and now where he is. It's almost this, and I could say that for pretty much every character in this show. They always feel like maybe they don't belong here, or there's always something dramatic ready to happen to them that's going to shift them in the other direction. But Hawk is a character that I have grown to really enjoy. Obviously, Dimitri is that character as well, but in a different way. You hate him, you love to hate him, you love him. And we're always going through those emotions. I could say that about a lot of characters in this show, but I think the biggest and best example of that is John Kreese. You love to hate his character. You love to be on the other side, and you want him to fail, but you also want him to learn something along the way. We got all those flashbacks last season. Not really any flashbacks to aid his story this time around, but there is that relationship between he and Terry Silver that just constantly shifts, and the dynamic there, and the pure 80s nostalgic type of story that they're telling, getting him back in the game, getting some montages along the way. Lots of montages in general throughout this season. Students learning how to fight, students learning different techniques from other dojos. Obviously, you have Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do. We'll just say the lessons being taught at these various dojos are drastically different, and thus you have a different fight style, and from that fight style you have a different mentality. And the fact that both of these are now kind of combined, as we saw at the end of season 3, that's going to create another set of conflict and eventually and inevitably consequences. So how are students that have always trained underneath the banner of Eagle Fang going to respond to Miyagi-Do's teachings? How is Johnny going to teach students that know the style that Daniel teaches? The LaRusso and Lawrence teachings, well, they don't necessarily go together that well. So from that comes various dramatic elements in the midst of this season, and obviously what is kind of going up against that is Cobra Kai. So you have these two dojos that have different teachings, but they're trying to work together. But on the other side of things, Cobra Kai, and that style is drastically different, and those students are much more aggressive. And seeing that and all of those things kind of combine at this All-Valley tournament, what everything is leading up to, you really get a feel for their mentalities and the way that they're passing down knowledge and information to other students. And speaking to those younger students and younger characters, this time around we're introducing a new character by the name of Kenny, played by Dallas Young, and he is in the same age group as Anthony LaRusso. And where he goes in this season is both unexpected and welcome. But my big, and this is where I get into my hesitation with this season as a whole, is there is a lot going on. There are so many stories at play, whether it be combining the teachings between Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang, all of those students, their different relationships with these styles of fighting, Cobra Kai, what's going on there, the introduction of a character like Kenny, and then you get into their personal lives, Johnny and his relationship, Miguel, his thoughts and feelings, Daniel, what's going on at home, how he's handling this, how his wife is continuing to help him. Tory gets a great story. John Kreese, you get a different side of Kreese this season, because introducing someone new like that is always going to change those levels of emotion. So all of these things going on, there were times where I thought the focus was a little bit off, and there were other moments that I could complain about when it comes to the actual style of the season. Season 4 is much more on the side of the Cobra Kai sequels, where they start to go a bit overboard, whether that be the filmmaking and the montages, the crossfades. I mean, something so specific like the crossfades going from scene to scene, the unbelievability of some of these training specific moments that these dojos are doing. You have to be able to set aside believability with this show, because we've seen countless examples of this before. That wouldn't happen in real life. That wouldn't happen in real life. And that stays true here. And that's honestly one thing I love about this show, is you can put that believability aside. But even then, there's some things that happen this season. I'm like, I don't know if that falls in line as strongly as some other things have. It does take things maybe even a bit too far overboard this season. You still love it. You're still having fun. Another thing I will say, the fight scenes, they are just the definition of fun. I'm going to keep using that word. And I loved it. Some of the choreography, just a very minor amount, was so off. But for the most part, especially when you get into the All-Valley tournament, I mean, some of these scenes are amazing. The only real problem I have with the final few episodes is there's something that happens at the end of one episode and you feel like it's going to have drastic repercussions, and it doesn't. So that was the only major nitpick I had with these final few major moments. And then there's something else. There's a shtick that they try to do in one of the episodes, and I can't say what that is because that is a spoiler, but I was like, all right, you guys will probably know when you see it. I was like, that's kind of It feels weird. I don't know why they're doing it. And before I give you guys my score and final thoughts, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I talk everything I can on streaming and Netflix, so subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and if you like this review and you want to see a spoiler review, drop your thumbs up down below. And Cobra Kai is once again firing on all cylinders by the end of Season 4. Now, it may take a bit for all of these storylines to come together, but they inevitably do beautifully. It maintains its heart, and these characters continue to grow in surprising ways. It started out a bit more on the unfocused side, but once it focuses in, by the time we get to the end of that tournament, man, oh man, and you guys are in for a surprise. We're going to talk spoilers, but right now I want to give you my score, and that's an 80% for Season 4 of Cobra Kai. It's the definition of fun. It's a show that you have to know what you're in for, right? If you're not on board with what it's trying to do, I don't know if you'll love it, but as for us, as for fans who have stuck with it this entire time, Season 4, it's going to be hard to find people that are really disappointed with the way this thing plays out. Surprises and twists along the way, and like I said, if you guys want to see it, we'll talk about those surprises this Friday, because there's a lot to talk about. So when it comes out, binge it, guys. Binge it. Come back here. We'll talk spoilers. Leave your thoughts and comments down below on the show as a whole. Appreciate you for watching. See you soon.